What's up? Welcome back to the Siris King Show. It's your host, Siris King. I had a short question. Someone asked me, in my opinion, what do I think gives African spirituality the edge over other spiritual systems? Um, and then I guess you could include Kemetic stuff with that too, but I tend to focus more on Sub-Sahara. Um, that's fairly easy. The African race existed before anybody else. So while in America, they might get into shit like melanin and like other things that don't really have anything to do with spirituality. What it really is two things. Because Africa's so old, they decoded spiritual concepts that other groups haven't decoded yet, even to this day. Number one. So they decoded, they'll have door openers. Yeah, you might see that in other cultures, but not as extensive as it would be in Africa, right? And then on top of that, you also have to look at it from the standpoint of Africa. I think what gives it its strength, its spirituality tends to be very grounded. So it tends to be animistic or shamanistic. It tends to, so like, when it focuses a lot on animism and it focuses a lot on the ecosystem, it tends to make it more grounded, right? And a lot of African systems in the past, you didn't even really make a distinction between the human body and the spirit, right? It was considered kind of the same thing. And then in the Eastern systems now, or the younger systems, they tend to look at the body with disdain. And not only do they look at the body with disdain, that tends to make them not really grounded as well, in that sense. And it tends to also make them probably not even care about building up the ancestral bloodline. So imagine you're on Earth for 1,000 years. Everyone in your family, you live, you die, but you take care of your group on the other side. So when people on this side, which is the land of living, are born, they still have counterparts on the other side helping them out, and vice versa. Then imagine the East, where some people say, "Oh, don't even have families." Other people have families, but they care about themselves individually. They care about themselves and their own enlightenment, right? Now, sometimes there's that stuff does have its place, but if everyone cares about only their own enlightenment, right? Most people are not going to get enlightened. See, in the African systems, especially in the past, if you had a family and you had two gifted people in your family and your family had 20 people, because it was more of a community-based, even spirituality, those 18 other people who are not as gifted as you could almost help them get to the finish line, at least to get to the realm of the ancestors. In the East, you got a family of 20 people, right? So that meaning the other 18 will still have a somewhat decent afterlife. In the East, those two people who are gifted out of 20 might even go higher than some people in Africa who are more concerned with their family. But the other 18 are more lost, right? Probably not even make it into the realm of the ancestors in that sense. And then slowly over time, that erodes the system, which is why African systems have the most resistance, right? The system itself probably, like I always said, you could say you're a Buddhist, a Hindu, but you could even say you're a Kabbalist and a Sufi, and you wouldn't get the same vitriol that you get if you say any African system, right? So it has, the machine goes against it the most, and in some ways is the most intact, because even when, in Africa, if certain parts of the continent are, were colonized and they might forget aspects of themselves, you go to South America and the Caribbean at this point, and sometimes they remember things that were lost over there, like capoeira. Yeah, you might have remnants of that in Angola, but the actual system is more intact in Brazil, right? Martial art type dance, same thing. So what makes Africa's spirituality unique and stronger, potentially, like I said, I don't really do the racial superiority. Every system got their strengths, but I would say, as a whole, yeah, they're not as abstract. They're more grounded. You tap into the ecosystem more. Then they're so old, they've just decoded certain spirits that other people haven't. You got other systems who wouldn't even think about invoking the spirit of death itself and making that an ally. They wouldn't even think of stuff like that at times. And even if they did, it wouldn't be an ally. It would be, Yama might have a different role in certain aspects in the East that Ban Samedi and certain other death lords. I mean, shit, Osiris eventually was a death god. Right? Literally, Osiris eventually was a death god. So that's what gives Africa, in my opinion, an edge. Right? It's not melanin. That melanin doesn't have anything to do with the spiritual world. It just doesn't. You go to any African traditional religion, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, you got melanin now, so that's a superpower. Right? When you start to deal with real spirituality, that's why I said I don't really do it with the superiority bullshit. Right? Certain things are just what they are. That's just the way it is. You know, like you see at one time, Ethiopia and Sudan, they were able to beat opponents much stronger than them, right? When it came to colonization in the past, Haiti, same thing. These things speak for itself, right? There's no need for me to be like, well, you know how they did it. Everyone knows how they did it. We pretend we don't, but we all know how they did it. And part of it is because they just decoded certain spirits and other cultures haven't even done it yet, even to this day. So, hope that helps. Siris King, till next time.